All right, now we're recording, and I'm still here with Madison Doucette, Northwestern goalie and Team USA champion. Madison, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so I always like to start by asking how you got your start in goal. Do you remember the first time you jumped into goal?
Yeah, so I grew up in Kansas City, and I was out playing in a tournament. I was a youngin on a U15 team. I was a littler one on that team. I think I was 11, and our goalie was having a little bit of a tough time. She was lifting her feet on shots, kind of silly things, and our coach grabbed my dad and was like, "Hey, like Madison's an athlete. Can we put her in net?" Um, and my dad was like, "That's up to her." And he came up to me. I said, "Yeah, whatever's good for the team." And I played 2 games. We won the championship. I went, "That was fun. Don't know if I'll do that again." And then I didn't play again until a team needed a goalie for a tournament, played another weekend. And then I got to high school and introduced myself to the coach, said, "Hi, like I'm Madison Doucette. I take the draw and I play goalie." And she was like, "Okay, let's put you with Cage." And Lisa Aikman, my high school coach, my freshman, sophomore year, told me to throw away my field stick and haven't really looked back since.
Nice. You mentioned being an athlete. What sports did you grow up and what sports did you grow up playing? And do you have like siblings you played with, or how did that work?
Yeah, so I've dabbled in all the sports. I feel like I played soccer as a kid, softball I loved, volleyball, track and fields. Ice hockey was my big one. I actually was considering pursuing that in college much longer than I was lacrosse. And I have a younger brother who turns 20 in a month or so, and I do lacrosse and hockey as well. So that's a fun sibling rivalry in the best way.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah. What is it about the goalie position that you ended up liking so much?
I think it's the athleticism and also the intellect behind it. I think you truly do have to be the best athlete on the field. Like, yes, we're not running the same degree. I mean, with our full field ride, I was, but for the most part, you're not. And you need to be athletic, you need to be explosive, you need to be flexible, but you also need to be very patient, very methodical, and just really lead from the cage and see shots, see angles, and understand that. And I liked the combination of just being like a cerebral athlete and then also just being able to be physically powerful.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. I want to break down some saves later and look at your your style of play and all of that you just said. Like, I see it, like the flexibility, the strength, the explosion, which is awesome. Were you one of those crazy ones that was not afraid of the ball?
Yeah, I think that's why they picked me. I think that's why they put me in. I also was had the facade of ice hockey, and I was like, "Oh, I'm normally in pads. I'm normally protected," and that's obviously not the case for most lacrosse goalie gear. But I was used to getting hit in some facet. I played hockey with the boys and lacrosse and hockey with my brother. Like, I wasn't afraid to get hit by anything, and that's carried over nicely, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, that's, normally when we talk about youth goalies, like the first thing you've got to train out of them is this fear of the ball, because it's just not a natural thing, right? Like, someone throws a rock at you, your instant reaction is to kind of protect yourself. And so if the goalie doesn't have that, that's an ideal candidate, or if an athlete doesn't have that, it's an ideal candidate to put someone in the cage. Were you a goalie, an ice hockey goalie?
No, I was a center. I had to cause problems for other goalies at times too. I couldn't take that on myself.
Nice. What do you think the ice hockey added to your lacrosse goalie game?
I mean, the athleticism for sure, the power. If you think about skating, like you skate at that kind of angle, you're going more lateral, more 45. That's a step. That's a step to make a save. Like, I would say my style emulates that. And it's worked out. But watching hockey for so long, like there's a little bit of knee drop in there. I've seen so many butterfly saves, but it also works for my game. So I think those things have just kind of slowly pieced themselves together and just combined into a very interesting style.
Yeah, that's so true. Skating, it's like you're working those exact muscles, those hip muscles that like you need to explode in either direction to the shot. So I've seen lacrosse goalies do that. Like, well, the skater hops,
Yeah.
which is a great drill because it builds those muscles and kind of emulates ice skating. Let's see. So, how would you describe your style of goalie play?
I mean, I would really kind of just stick back to that athleticism. I think a little bit unorthodox. I had the privilege of being coached by Tim McCormick my freshman year. Prior to that, I didn't really have a goalie coach. Currently, don't really have a goalie coach. And so it's a lot of working with my current coaches and figuring out what works for me. So it's not this is how goalies play. I don't have an arc. I don't have particular spots. I'll change my stick position by game if that's what is warranted by the attack and the way I'm seeing the ball, and adjust kind of where my hands are, where my angle is. So really just reactive, athletic, and just trying to be as explosive as possible.
It's really interesting what you just said about kind of changing it mid-game. What would be an example of that? Like, the girls are shooting low consistently and you're getting beat low consistently in a game. Like, you might drop your hands a little bit lower to get ready for those type of shots.
Yeah, bringing my angle down a little bit. So I'm not a goalie that sticks it up vertically. I'm kind of hang a little to the side, and then if I need to do more so, or if I need to bait a little bit with that, like I'm very open to adjusting in game, because in-game adjustments are what makes an attack work, what makes a defense work. So like, why can't it happen for a goalie as well?
Yeah, great point. Yeah, and when I look at your stance, and we'll take a look afterward, it's not, some girls and guys for that matter get super deep in a squat, super wide base. You're nice athletic crouch, but not super deep. And like you said, hands, kind of normal position, not vertical stick, kind of like at 45, and you're stepping out at the 45.
That's the goal. I'll be honest. Like, it doesn't always happen with the velocity of shots coming. Sometimes you just got to get across, train it at the 45. And then if I lose a little bit of ground, I'm still hitting a 30, and that's a good spot to be.
Yeah. Yeah. How did you go about learning to be a goalie without any goalie coaches, and growing up in Kansas City? I that's not a typical hotbed of lacrosse.
No, honestly, it was trial and error. I just thought it was fun, and I kind of just became a student of the game. I enjoyed watching college lacrosse. I enjoyed watching collegiate goalies. I would watch the men's game and just seeing kind of how people moved. And then the coaches that could give me a couple tips did, and slowly they stuck. And then it was like, okay, like, I understand what they're saying, but that piece doesn't work for me. How can I still reach that end with different means?
Interesting. Do any examples of that come to mind?
With respect to watching, or with coaching?
With respect to something that, like, hey, this is not for me. Like, that style's not for me. How can I achieve the same thing with my approach?
Yeah. So I know I did a goalie camp when I was probably a sophomore in high school, maybe. The world-class goalie training camp, Devin Wills, Gussie Johns, Kaylee Waters. And they were very hard on like a strict arc, and also a very consistent way of moving pipe to pipe. So a drop step coming across and really moving in like a 3-step motion. And I loved it, and I repped it a ton, but I realized in game that wasn't going to happen for me, just based on how I move, how I see the ball, how I react. Mm-hmm. So it was practicing those things, realizing it wasn't going to work, but still utilizing that drop step, getting across. But my way of finishing that is not the way that I was originally taught. It was adapted to how I actually prefer to move.
Love it. That's awesome. Who were some of those collegiate goalies that you like to watch and that you learn from?
Megan Ward, Kaylee Waters, Gussie Johns. A lot of just the big names that we've seen for a while. I feel like I was still watching like goalies that recently graduated. So like Mallory Weiss was my teammate, Samantha Jacqueline. These goalies all play extremely different, but they all are very successful.
Awesome. So I guess you start to have some success in high school at the goalie position. When did you first start to think about playing lacrosse at the D1 level? I know you mentioned you're even contemplating up until a very late point playing ice hockey. When did D1 lacrosse enter the picture?
So I got lucky that I got the start, like my first game, my freshman year. My coach took a risk on me. She put me on varsity and never looked back. And I'm endlessly grateful for her for that. But one of my kind of first weekends, there were scouts around. It was like, I think she said Brown and Monmouth. They like were interested in me. And I was like, oh, cool. And I honestly, to this day, feel bad that I never followed up on that, because I had no idea what the recruiting process was. So if the Brown or Monmouth women's lacrosse coach hears this, I apologize. I just didn't know the process. But I was like, oh, maybe this could be a thing. And then I was doing club just because I loved it and I wanted to play. And then it was, okay, this coach was watching, that coach was watching. And I loved hockey, but in that way, lacrosse was loving me. So I kind of just played the game. I went to camps for both sports at same schools. And like, I just would kind of double dip until I could figure out what that final choice was going to be for me.
Awesome. Yeah, no offense to Brown and Monmouth. They just didn't know the process. They had to educate you in the process.
I had my first kid in my family and any side of it, relatives, whatnot, to go and play collegiate athletics. So I didn't know that it was a thing to reach out. I didn't know the legislation. I didn't know how to do any of that. So it was a learning process for sure.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Obviously, if you have an older brother or even a parent that has gone through it and played athletics at that level, they can kind of teach you and show you the ropes. But it sounds like you guys were just flying blind and sort of figuring it out as you go, huh?
Yes, definitely. And I was very blessed to have both in hockey and lacrosse some great leaders like coaching me along the way to make sure I understood what was happening. But my mom was an equestrian and my dad played hockey at Miami of Ohio prior to it being a Division I athletic sport. So it was a very different process. And so I had to learn as we go, a little trial by fire.
Yeah. How did Northwestern come into the picture?
I was emailing coaches as you do on a weekend, and I had drafted everything up. My mom was being the best, and she was going to send some out while I was at school. I had written them. She just had hit press send, and I was like, awesome, that's great. She was like, oh, like this school, that school. Do you want to email Northwestern? And I literally remember saying to her, no, they're too good. Don't waste our time, basically. And then I was at school. I remember being in gym class, like sneaking my phone in, as a little delinquent, I guess, and seeing like sports recruit update. Northwestern viewed your profile. Northwestern viewed your profile. 10 minutes later, Northwestern watch your video. 10 minutes later, Northwestern watch your video. And then I got an email from my club director. Northwestern wants a phone call with you tomorrow. And that was when that was okay. That was the process. And I just remember being in gym class with my goalie partner on my team. And I was like, I don't know what to do about this. And that's kind of just how the ball started rolling. I started talking to Tim McCormick and then got out for camp, got out for visits, and it just was the perfect fit.
Nice. That's an amazing story. I could just picture you in gym class, like, oh, they watched my video. Oh, they viewed my profile.
Yeah, we were actually playing lacrosse in gym class that day, and we had gone back to the locker room to like actually get our sticks because we weren't going to use like the plastic ones. And that's when I looked and I was like, I don't know what to do with this information. So I went back to gym class and I was like, wow, I better play well in gym class because I'm trying to do big things here.
Yeah, right. Yeah, kind of new motivation for kicking some butt in gym class.
Absolutely.
What was it about? It's a great program, but like, what was it for you about Northwestern that made it such a great fit?
It was the culture. I mean, I love the campus. Academically, I'm an engineer. I was able to pursue that opportunity here, and not every school is open to that. And then I loved Kelly's mentality, Tim, Scott, all the coaches that were on staff that have shifted my freshman year. Shelby Fredericks is still here. We had Hannah Murphy my freshman year. So I just loved their energy, and I loved the desire to win. I wasn't necessarily looking. It wasn't like I need to go to the number one team in the country. For me, it was, I need to go to a team that is going to push, that is going to fight, that is going to try to win, that won't settle for anything less than that. And that's exactly what I got from Northwestern. That's the culture I found. And that was confirmed as I watched, even as I committed. It was, okay, like who's putting in the work, the extra reps that I was seeing. It was, they just finished the worst run that I've ever seen. Everyone's picking up the cones. Everyone's doing their thing. There's no hierarchy. We're fighting together. And that culture, just that push, that fight, that blue collar was exactly what I was looking for.
Interesting. And that, my question was like, how do you, if you're, a high school goalie, how do you learn that culture based on these conversations, right? Because obviously the coach can tell you one thing and then you get there and it could be very different, but it sounds like you actually visited, you saw these girls in action, you kind of saw proof of what you were looking for. Is that accurate?
Definitely. I think doing your research and kind of, if you have friends that have friends, a lot of lacrosse world's small, so there's connections. You can hear things about programs. Obviously, if you're being recruited, people are probably going to be extremely positive, but positivity can only go so far, and like kind of drafting up a script is only going to take you so far. Like there will be things that you can catch. You have to be really perceptive. You have to be looking for these things. And then there's that feel when you get on campus, especially for a camp or work with a coach. For Northwestern, there was a different intensity. I could feel it. It was really all I wanted. So just kind of you hear that it's going to feel right when it feels right. And that's what Northwestern was for me.
That's great. Well, congrats on finding that. That's awesome. So you get to Northwestern, and at that point, like, it sounds like it might've been some of, well, you have a goalie coach, right? So you're getting a little bit more attention than you're used to. Did your lacrosse goalie game change when you got to Northwestern?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I learned more. I was given more tools. Honestly, sometimes it didn't work out in my favor. There were times where Tim would just tell me to scrap it, to forget everything he told me on the day, because as an intellectual person to begin with, I think I sometimes got in my head too much. But I learned kind of how to take what he was saying. He was huge on it being a conversation, not a lecture. So it was like, hey, try this. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. And I've carried that mentality into my play, but also my coaching philosophy when I have that opportunity. So I learned a lot about hand position. I learned my kind of stepping out a little further, changing the angles, finishing with my hands kind of pushing up and over, trapping the ball, a lot of the little stuff. And then the style kind of followed through behind that as I slowly learned those little tools.
Oh, I love it. That's 100% my philosophy as well. So we share that. And like, there's some coaches that might say like, don't do this or don't do that. Like, you can't give that blanket advice, and even if you could, it's still worth the lacrosse goalie trying that out. If only to say like, yeah, that's not for me. Like, if only to be more confident in the fact that the way I'm playing is the right way. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah. When I'm coaching, that's my first message every time. I'm going to give you something. I want to see you try it. And if you want to say, for lack of a better term, screw off after this,
Mm-hmm.
it won't bother me, but I want to see you try it. And if it sticks a little bit, I've done my job.
Awesome. Yeah. What else? How else do you go about coaching? What's kind of your philosophy on that? Because you're working with a lot of. You told me before we hit record, you're doing quite a bit of coaching these days.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the first pillar, is really just kind of opening that conversation and being an open book. I'm not trying to change your style. I'm trying to make your style better for you. So I think I go about it in that way of, okay, like you knee drop, or okay, you sprawl, or you have a super wide stance and you don't really step, but you're 6 feet tall and I'm not. So I can't say that that's going to work for me, but I'm going to watch that work for you. And honestly, it's about that trying. It's about that respect. I want to be trusted in that way with the players, and I want to build that with them as well and respect what they're doing, and just developing that relationship and inching away and giving them a lot of tools that they can do on their own. Because obviously as goalies, it's a hard position to train solo. So what drills can I give you that you can do either completely alone, or your mom or dad can lightly toss a tennis ball to you, like not requiring a lot, but allowing you to do as much as you can on your own.
Yeah. What are some of those drills?
One of my favorites is called Save the Pipe. You literally just face the net backwards and you drive to the corners, and you should have that. You work on that finish position. You work on that explosion. You should hear that rattle. We have expensive equipment. Your stick's not going to break, but you drive to it, then you wrap around. Anything off the wall too is huge. Being able to shoot on yourself using a short stick, men's stick, instead of your field stick. And you walk the line. There's a bunch of different variations, but just repping those movements technically. So then when you're in the game, it's muscle memory and you can fully react, and your body's going to do the mechanics that you've already trained so hard.
Yep. Love it. I'm not sure I understand the wrap around drill. You'll have to.
Yeah, I'll draw it up. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, you have to draw it up. It's sometimes drills are tough to describe with just the words. So, all right. So we got that coming. Awesome. So like, are you going into your senior year, junior year?
Senior year, yes.
Senior year. Awesome. What does your training regimen look like this summer? Do you take a lot of shots? Are you doing a lot of those drills, that we just discussed, or what does it look like for you?
Yeah, it's when I can get shots, I'm getting shots. I mean, I'm a big proponent of just being the best athlete you can be. So lifting and running very frequently, and then a lot of hand-eye and visualization type work as well. When I don't have shooters, we have a tennis ball launcher that I steal from the football boys and get my reps that way. So just seeing as many things flying at me as possible. And then when I have teammates that are in town or have a little bit of time, I'll snag them. When I was working out west, I had girl shooters, guy shooters, D1, D2, high school people. So I really was just trying to see the variety, and that's kind of the best part.
Awesome. Love it. What do you do? Have you ever been in a slump, Madison? What do you do, when that happens, and how do you think about it? How do you get out of it?
Yeah, I think I learned it from my hockey days. My dad would always joke that there'd be a monkey on my back when I was trying to score or trying to do too much. It normally comes down to simplifying everything and literally just seeing the ball. So it's a lot easier said than done, but it's that next save. It's whatever your reset can be: reset word, reset breathing, walk out of the crease, whatever you need to do, and just kind of fight back. And it's hard those weeks where you're like just not chipping away like you want to in practice. I rely on my teammates. I rely on my coaches. Sometimes I need a little ego boost. Sometimes I just need to see more shots, see more reps. And my coaches are fantastic about doing individual sessions when that's necessary. And I normally try to push my way out of it with strictly hard work. It's not always the most effective or smart tactic. Normally has some results, but a lot of time it's just calming down and realizing I do this because I love it. I do this because it's fun. And I've had success because of that. So just see the ball, make the save, just get hit with something that normally does the trick.
Yeah, it's interesting. You and I are alike in many ways. I'm very similar like that. Like when, the chips get down, whether it's in lacrosse or even in like work and business, like my mentality is like, I'm just going to like work my way out of it. Like I'm just going to, put in like a solid chunk of work and get myself out of this. And like you said, it's sometimes not the best tactic, but hey, that's what we do.
Yeah.
I was going to ask, speaking of being alike, I was going to ask you about engineering. So you're an engineering major. I am also an engineer. I studied engineering. So we are in this very small group of lacrosse goalies / engineers. And it's very admirable because it's a great major, if you ask me. Maybe I'm biased, but it's a lot of work, right? It's a lot of work, and especially balancing the demands of Division I lacrosse. Like, how do you go about doing that? What's your strategy for that?
Working hard in time management, I would honestly say. I've learned to work my schedule pretty nicely. I have amazing professors, amazing advisors, other faculty that have been very helpful in terms of working with me and my schedule and the craziness that it is. There's been times I've had to miss practices or staying late because I have to counteract something. So I've had the coaches understanding on that as well as my teammates. They know I'll put in the time, so that 15-minute window I miss, yes, I'm missing it, but they know I'm going to spend 20 after and like slowly inch that back. And it just being honest with all sides, with myself, with my advisors, anybody, because it can be challenging, especially with engineering being so group driven. It's also 50% team time with lacrosse. And then I've got another time in the shop or time working with the team. So time management's the biggest thing, being upfront and honest on scheduling, and then being willing to put in putting in those late hours is what you kind of need to do to finally be able to cross something off the list.
Yep. Yeah, that's what it was for me, is time management, right? It's like, if you've got 3 free hours, it needs to be dedicated to studying, eating, lacrosse, like, or maybe like every once in a while a social event. But those are, it's like, what are your priorities? And then just time management. Because I don't know how it is at Northwestern. I imagine it's the same as it was at Cal. Like, you're taking engineering classes that are probably like 5 units of work, and they're 3 units, right? And other people are taking classes that are 4 units and like 2 units of work. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I definitely feel like that most of the time, but I get my work done, and we've been good. So
yeah. How is it for you being a woman in engineering? Because, when I was at Cal, like if we had a class of like 30 people, there was like 1, 2 women. Like not many women were there, and maybe it's changed. I don't know, but I'm curious about your experience.
Yeah. So at Northwestern, there's a pretty good gender breakdown. It's a pretty diverse group, so I'm very appreciative of that. I think there's definitely still some stigma around it, and you kind of have to build up that trust with different people you're applying to, different group members. There's still a little bit of a power dynamic in that way. I think Northwestern is doing a great job of addressing it and stepping up and making sure groups are equal. And I also am a confident individual with leadership background through lacrosse, so I'm able to step up and kind of close those gaps. And I'm not afraid to confront a male counterpart that is potentially being condescending or just not giving me that space that I deserve, that I'm smart enough and have worked hard enough to earn. But I will say that compared to what I've heard about previous experiences in engineering, I have not experienced much with respect to gender-based discrimination.
Cool. Great to hear. And congrats. I mean, that's awesome that Northwestern, has built up the engineering program, let alone the lacrosse program, but, built up that engineering program to be that way. That's great. You mentioned, building up your leadership skills, your leadership capabilities. How did you do that? And how do you go about being a leader of the team?
I think it kind of comes with the goaltending role, just based on the dynamic with the defense. You kind of fall into it. But you also have to be ready for that role and willing to step up in that way. So I've had tremendous leaders that I've played with, from former goalie partners to the defensive captains down low with me this past year. Ali Palermo and Ali Berkery really just were leading the pack down there. But then I was that kind of third in the mix, just really communicating through. So it comes from on the field, it comes from off the field. I want to be as dependable in both situations as I can. So I'm going to take ownership when I mess up on the field. I'm going to take ownership when myself or someone else messes up off the field. I want to be that person my teammates can trust, no matter the context, no matter time of day, anything. And I think that just kind of contributes to being able to continue that leadership role.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. I like that quite a bit. When you mess up on the field, you're talking about like giving up an easy goal. You know, what kind of goes through your mind? How do you react? How do you tell the girls that like, hey, we've got this, that one's on me?
I mean, you probably could see it in any clip. If I'm tapping my chest, that's me. Like, I want them to know. Sometimes I'll say it when I know it's not me, and that's okay. Like, I want to take that because I know that I've trained in such a way that my mental toughness is where it's going to be, that I'm not easily shaken in that way. And that's the goal. That's what goalies that are consistent and mentally tough have the most success. And I'm always consistently working towards that goal. So I'll take that. I'll say, hey guys, that's me. That's a perfect angle, way to force that shot. I got to have that saved. We got the next one. Just move on. There's no dwelling on it. Lacrosse is a long game. It's a game of runs. Things are going to happen. We play games where there's been almost 40 goals scored. We've had games where there's been over 40 goals scored. Like, things are going to happen. We're in control of the situation. And I want my teammates to know that I will take ownership for my mistakes. I will step up and I will be better from them. And I would expect them to do the same. So there's no shame in admitting that from my side.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, that gesture, I teach goalies, like, you know, it's right here. That one's on me. And it just, I mean, there's a lot of other gestures that I love, even like, you know, when you make a great save, like, you know, giving it like a little bit of a umph, like using that moment to pump up the team. But yeah, that one that you talked about, letting them know that, hey, I'll get that, keep giving up that shot. I'll get that one next time is pretty powerful. Do you have a, like a post goal routine that you go through, or what happens when you get scored on?
I mean, pull the ball from the net. Worst moment as a goalie. I'm going to give it to the ref the same way every time. Unless the ref actually asks me to hand it to them, I'll find the stick. I'll roll it to the stick. I put it there. I'm not going to let anything show in terms of, I might be frustrated. I don't care. I'm walking up to the huddle. I'm talking with my team. I go back. I tap my pipes in the same pattern. I walk up to where I need to be. And that's my reset. That's the moment. Kind of leave that outside the crease. Once I'm back in there, I'm good to go. I'm fine.
Awesome. Yeah. Sounds like a great routine. You won a championship with the under 19 Team USA team. I would love to hear about that experience.
I mean, I can't speak highly enough about that experience. I'm so grateful to have had the opportunity to play for the national team, and even to still be in consideration as we move forward in future pools, future years. That was a beautiful mix of talent, of personality, of coaching talent, players just with immense skill. Getting to play with some of my college teammates as well as some of my college, I guess, enemies, but they're also my friends. Just fantastic. And that environment, just to be able to represent your country, was something I had dreamed of since a little kid, and I still dream of. I'll be honest, I thought it was going to be hockey, but here we are. So I wasn't in the Olympics for ice hockey, unfortunately, as I had planned. But just to represent the U.S. and also in that context, just given that the U.S. is as strong as it is in lacrosse, to be able to just be that team that teams are excited to see was a crazy blessing. And just to talk to Kenya, Jamaica, Mexico, Wales, New Zealand, every team that was there was just cool to learn about them, learn about their cultures, watch games with them, hang out with them in the dorms. It was just absolutely amazing.
Yeah, that does sound like an amazing experience. Yeah, man, amazing. Well, good luck in future Team USA teams. We'll be watching you. We'll be watching you, Madison.
Thank you.
Do your teammates call you Maddie, by the way, or am I
They
just?
do not.
They do not. No. All right.
They've decided I'm not a Maddie, and I feel like I agree with that. So
okay,
some
Madison,
some Doucette, some Mad, any combination. I'll answer to pretty much anything as long as it's not like offensive to me, like calling me stupid or something. But I probably might still answer. So.
You wrote an essay, coming out as a gay athlete and talking about your experience. And in that essay, you talked about, I'll field any and all questions they shoot my way. They may be silly, even uncomfortable, but anything that normalizes queerness is worth the conversation. I have some questions for you. They may be silly. I don't know if they're uncomfortable, but could we do it?
Absolutely, without a doubt.
Yeah. I was curious, you came out and you mentioned everything, your teammates not really treating you any different, right? And it was all okay. What were the fears that were going on in your head before you came out?
I mean, I think any athlete that's struggling with any kind of minority identity has that same experience. Even if you know the team culture you're going into, or your family or your friends, even if you know they're accepting, there's some part of you that feels like almost you've been lying in a weird way, that you've kept this from them and you haven't been your real self and you're about to reveal that. I won't say that like my queer identity is what defines me, but it's absolutely a part of my identity that's important to me. So you're going to expose that side of you. And there's always the fear, but okay, what if it doesn't apply to me? Yes, they accept everyone, but what if I'm the exception? And I now know how irrational that is. And I try to convey that to anyone who reaches out to me as they go through their own process and are looking for advice. But there's that hesitation of what if this changes something? What if they treat me differently? What if they're worried about the locker room situation? What if they think I've flirted with them in the past? I don't want to cross any boundaries with teammates and friends and family. So there's always that kind of hesitation of how do I kind of pursue this situation and handle it with the most grace possible.
Yeah. And in your particular personal experience, did it end up changing anything?
No, my high school teammates were nothing but fantastic. My collegiate teammates, there's nothing changed. I think I didn't even really have to tell them. I kind of told a couple and it kind of slowly snuck out there. And then it was just changing the pronouns I used when I referred to anyone I was talking to or anyone I had been involved with previously. And they did the same. And that wasn't a problem. I'm not the only queer identifying person on my team. I'm not the only one from the, like, looking back, there's been many after me or before me, and there will be many after me. So it's something that is just a part of humanity and it's going to continue being a factor. And I know Megan Rapinoe had the quote that there's no team that's won a championship without a gay athlete on our team. I'm probably terribly paraphrasing that, but that was the gist. And I believe that to be true. Diversity of teams is a huge factor. And the fact that my team was able to embrace myself and my teammates that have been in the same situation, had similar kind of reveals of coming out with a certain identity is fantastic.
Awesome. Silly question. You mentioned the changing the pronouns. What does that mean?
With respect to talking about partners or whatnot, instead of saying like, when I was younger, I would fill in, even if I was talking to a girl that I was really into, I would say he, because I was so excited to talk about it, but I didn't want to say she. I didn't want to say, oh, I talked to her last night. I would say, oh, I talked to him last night. I'd fill in a name just because I was so excited, but I was nervous. So now it's okay, like my ex-girlfriend or whoever, whatnot, it will be like I'm actually acknowledging the gender in that. I'm not just saying, oh, like the person I was seeing, oh, like partner or whatever. It's, I'll use those pronouns because I'm not ashamed.
Got it.
And I'm proud.
Awesome. Makes perfect sense. Did you feel like your personality changed after you came out? Meaning like now I'm more free to be myself. Like who I was before was kind of like I was hiding something. Now I'm a little bit more free to be myself now that this is out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't say it's a personality shift. I think it would just kind of a weight off your shoulders. It's something that was on my mind all the time. When I had a free second, that's what I was thinking about. It was, how am I going to tell my parents? How am I going to tell my brother? How am I going to tell my friends? And then when that was out and I could just be me and I knew it was okay to just be me, it just changes your confidence. And it's even changed since being at school. Like my freshman year, I was still a little shaky with it. I didn't want everyone to know. Then my sophomore year, I was sending an email on behalf of the queer group for athletics to the entire student athlete community. Like my name's attached to that. People can connect the dots. Like it's slowly stepping out of your comfort zone. And I'm not the same person in high school in the best possible way. I'm more confident, I'm more mature, I'm more comfortable with myself, and I'm trying to create space for others to do the same. So in that way, my personality, I guess, has changed, but it's more just how I carry myself and how open I'm willing to be with the world.
Awesome. Well, thank you for putting yourself out there and kind of telling your story. I'm not a gay athlete, but I know there's many goalies and gay athletes out there who need those role models they can look to and be like, Madison's done it. I know I can do it. So thank you for that.
Of course, that's always the goal.
Yeah. I was going to ask, I've interviewed Devin Wills. I've interviewed Liz Hogan. I've interviewed you, Lindsay Munoz, right? Gay athletes. Is there something and goalies, is there something about the goalie position that tends to attract a gay athlete?
So that one might be a silly question. We honestly joke about this at times because there is a suspicious overlap. I don't know what it is. I don't know why it is the way it is. I have my theories. I don't know why. I honestly would love to study it scientifically because I'm curious. Obviously, there's a larger percentage of gay female athletes generally than in the general demographic, general population of the entire country, entire world. Why there's such a connection between goalies and identifying queer some way, I am not sure. But I also find it interesting. And if you can figure that out or someone else has the answer, I would love to know. I can't really theorize based on how people identify or personality, mannerisms, whatnot, like silly things like that. So
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that for sake of tying myself in knots and kind of stepping out of line. But I do think it's an interesting thing. And I would love to learn if there's something there.
Yeah. Interesting. All right. We'll table that one. I don't know the answer, but we'll figure it out. By the way, your dad has the most amazing quote in that article. I'm paraphrasing, but it's like, I don't care if you date a man. I don't care if you date a woman. Just don't date a loser. Mr. Doucette coming in.
Yeah, that's exactly how my family reacted. That's how they continue to react. They want someone that's going to treat me right, that I'm going to treat right, that has passions and as driven as I am. So that was his way of saying, like, I don't care what the gender of that person is, female, male, anything in between. I think like just a good person is what I want for you. And that's by far the best reaction I could have gotten from my parents because it was just the unconditional love, the support, and then also that's the kind of tongue-in-cheek humor that my family relies on so heavily. So that little kind of witty comment changed tears in that moment when I was so nervous to just dying laughing coming home from hockey practice because that's so classic for my dad.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, thank you for going through that, Madison. That was great. I only had one silly question out of four, so not too bad.
Something I also am curious about. So when science progresses to the point to figure that out, we will follow up together.
There you go. I have some clips of some saves. Could I share my screen? We could take a look at it. Changing gears, obviously. Let me go ahead and share my screen. These clips come from the Big Ten championship game. And
huddle.
Have you always been number 99, by the way?
No, I was actually grew up number 15, was number 22 in high school, and then 99 was a move collegiately.
Collegiately, yeah. Going back to your ice hockey background, I guess a lot of ice hockey greats wear the 99, huh?
Yes, sir. Yeah, that's the goal, right? I want to be the best. I want to change the game, and that's my aspirations. Put it on my jersey. I can't not look at it. I can't not see it. I have to push for it.
Awesome. While I'm kind of, the pregame is up here. Let's save that. I'll save that question. Let's go to the saves. First one. By the way, this angle is so awesome.
It's fantastic to review as well.
I mean, I'm like, why is this not an angle out of all college lacrosse broadcast? And if you're just listening to the audio, it's like this close up of like right behind the goal, but like super high def, and you can see, oh man, just what the goalie sees.
I also find it funny in this context too, because you can see how a full field ride works, given that there is simply no one in that other net. I am at the 50, so yeah. I find it's actually funny.
Yeah, that's true. You can see all the way down to the other goal too. Yeah. So first save I want to take a look at, I think it comes off I think it's an 8-meter play, but we can't see the beginning of it. So you can kind of see your stance right there. Kind of talk us through your stance a little bit, if you could.
Yeah, I play a little wider. I tend to kind of coil up and explode for shots, and I adjust my hands accordingly, knowing that's kind of how I play. You kind of have that angle of the stick head. I kind of slide it off to the side at a little bit of like a 45, not even that much angle, and then I hold pipe pretty well, but I'm also not a big baiter, so it really is just kind of sitting in that middle.
Awesome. I'm gonna play this.
Water in the head too there.
Shot. Doucette gets a piece of it. Big save.
Great save. Earlier, you were talking about the flexibility and the explosion, and I think this is like a great example of that. I mean, look at that flexibility in the hips. I mean, what do you do to get that flexibility in the hips?
A lot of stretching, a lot of mobility work. It's more injury prevention than anything, because I know I play this way, so I don't want to cause myself any problems as a result. So it's maintaining and just making sure I stay that level of flexibility, because I probably won't be able to keep myself from doing the move in the moment. I just don't want to have any repercussions as a result.
Yeah, but it's such a great save technique, because you look like if that ball's shot to the lower right quadrant, like your whole body's down there, right? Like you couldn't take up more space with your body. I think this one ends up hitting you on the leg, right?
Yes. Sir.
Yeah. Take that save. Awesome. 203. I'm gonna let this one play.
Sophomore netminder. She gets dumped to the turf. And she will have a free position opportunity at the 8 meter for Maryland.
Before we watch this, this is another free position shot. What goes through your head? What are you thinking about free position shot?
My first thought is really just assessing the situation, the scenario. Just, okay, what's the time on the clock? What's the time on the shot clock? How are they setting up? Where do I need my players? Who's on the field? Who do I want on that stick side? Like, for example, we don't always have someone on that hanging hash. In this case, we do, but that's not always the case. So what passes could they hit? I want to assess the situation, understand as much as possible before I get set for the save. And then it's just like waiting it out. I think also looking at that keeps me from overthinking the shot. I'm worried about 27 other things. So now I just, let me focus on seeing the ball. That's the easiest thing to do right now.
Yeah, I like that. So you're reading the play, and help me out. Hanging hash is this girl right here?
Correct.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. Yeah, so you're just seeing like what could she do? Is her only option to shoot? All right, that's good to know, right? Could she pass it? Could she, do any number of things? But just having, playing that out in your mind, and that's lacrosse IQ, right? Like that comes with being in that exact scenario 100 times previously.
Absolutely.
Yeah. By the way, so I've coached goalies, but I've never coached like the women's sport of lacrosse. Like, are you allowed just to move? I thought you were not allowed to move on the arc, but here, like you tell her to get over there and she moves over. Is that?
Yeah. So that's a newer rule, I believe, in the last I think my freshman year. So I played with that collegiately free movement. It's a huge difference. It also allows you to get those hashes to either side. That's given to the team that's defending. So you get those two, and then the rest are kind of fought about, and you kind of jostle for. So you're allowed to move and get set. And it's honestly been a huge difference maker for goalies that they can use that space.
Yeah. And you're basically positioning your chess pieces, before the play starts to get in the best spot to defend it. Interesting. All right, cool. So let's watch this one.
Championship game so far. Hoffman steps in, shoots just wide. Backed up by the Terps. They'll retain possession.
He said just wide, so maybe that wasn't technically a save, but you were right on it. I'm going to give you the save on that one.
Appreciate it. I don't even remember if I got a piece or not. I was just looking to the next one.
Yeah, one of my biggest pet peeves is a lot of times announcers are not goalies, right? So they'll take a shot and I clearly see the goalie make a save and they'll be like, "Ooh, that one goes wide," or like, "Ooh, that's off the pipe." And I'm like, "What are you talking about? That was not off the pipe. That goalie clearly made a save. And why are you not more excited about that save?"
I understand that. I know in the past too, my statistics haven't even been accurate, but really I'm such really focused on the final score more than I'm focused on what's my save percentage? So it definitely happens. And if it means they think it went wide and they don't reset the shot clock, I'm not going to fess up.
Fair enough. Yeah. I'm fair enough.
An ethical player, but if that sneaks by and they don't want to call it, I'm not going to most of the time yell out, "Hey, I touched that."
You're going for the win, not to pad the stats.
Little gamesmanship.
Yep. By the way, we got a little clip of the ladies doing a little.
Oh, look at this! How low can you go?
Oh my goodness!
Doing a little limbo celebration. I like how you guys keep it loose.
Absolutely, that's our team culture in practice and games, everything, and we would not be the team we are on the field without everyone else on the side too. Whether they get it, whether they don't, it's a team effort.
By the way, this backup goalie's got the nice limbo. I mean, that's flexibility right there.
Yeah, I'll give her the feedback. We do a lot of mobility work, so I think she can go lower, but we'll work on it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you compare it to
Summer ducking, yeah.
Compared to like number 14 here, oh, we got to have a chat with number 14. She got the technique.
It's okay. She has the dance moves most of the other time, so we'll let her slide on this one. She's normally on camera dancing quite a bit.
Fair enough.
Question was they've elected not to play strategy anymore. Nice takeaway check. Beautiful.
Oh, you gave it right back.
Oh man, what a save. So if you're just listening to the audio, your defender does a nice takeaway check, and then she's getting pressured, and she tries to throw it, I think, back to you, and the Maryland girl intercepts it, and then basically runs from around X, and you shuffle, and beat her there. Great save. I mean, you're at this point, like, I guess just talk us through this play if you could.
Yeah, I mean, Hannah had a beautiful check there, and we know that the Mays on Maryland are a huge threat, so I shouldn't have called there. And then there was someone sneak around the crease, so that was on me for giving her misinformation. But I had that crash come immediately. You can see, obviously, yes, she's going to cage. She gets the shot off, but I've got 4 players within 6 yards, if not less. And then it's about just beating the shooter to where she wants to go. We know she's a lefty. That's the scout. So she's carrying it there. She looks like she's going to shovel it. I'm just seeing the ball and tracking it with her and just trying to throw as much at it as I can, kind of like how we talked on that pass save, just getting my stick there and my body behind it. My stick's my first save. My body's my second. And luckily I got some stick on this one.
Yeah, really, like you said, at this point, like, you know, she's going to try and shovel it to your off stick hip side. So you're busting your butt to get over there. Bam. Nice save. That's got to feel good, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I want to help my teammates, and I want to they pick up the slack when I'm having a time or make an error, and I want to do the same for them. So that's more of a momentum shift type save. I don't think all saves are created equal. Saves mean different things at different times, and that could have been a morale shifting goal, especially at that point in the game with that tight score. Shots are similar, so you kind of got to just have that mindset of this is even bigger than it should be. So let's get across, let's make that save, and also make sure we execute cleanly on this transition, calm us down, go back at it.
Yeah, all saves are definitely not created equal. That is for sure.
Right back.
Hannah Gillespie with.
What did they call right there?
I think it was a crease violation on one of the Maryland girls, but I'm not positive.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, I need to watch the women's game a little bit more with someone who knows the rules, because I say that quite a bit. I'm like, what is that call? I don't get it. But yeah, all right, that makes sense. All right, that was 250, 410. Oh, I was going to take a look at this one. This one doesn't end up working out in your favor, but it's just such a cool angle. It's just such a cool angle. Like, you know, you got it from behind and
steps in, fires and scores.
And she ends up scoring. But like, the cool thing is, you know, especially in the women's game, and I don't know how, I'd love to get your thoughts on this. Like, there's a technique called read 'em and beat 'em. Like, I learned about it from the Goalie Smith guys, where you're sort of, you know, on in close shots, you're reading the body language and then beating them to the spot, right? Do you use that technique?
So I actually just learned that from them 2 weeks ago. I had yet to know that myself. So I'm working on that. That hasn't been something that's been applied to my game yet. I look forward to applying it because I think it's a really cool way to play it, and just simply beating someone to a shot if you force their hand. But obviously I hadn't learned that year yet, and it doesn't go in my favor. So hopefully that'll be flipped this year.
Awesome. Did you take did you attend one of their camps?
Yeah, I did one of their sessions immediately following the US tryout 2 weeks ago. And then I got to coach with them as well, which was awesome.
Wow. Amazing. Yeah. If you ask me, like, those guys are some of the best live coaches, like the caliber of goalies that they train and that they work with. They're awesome guys. Love them.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, just, you know, you kind of see this one, like, she's sort of leaning, you know, to the side. And I guess as shooters get more advanced, they could kind of lean to the side and push it back the other way. But, you know, 9 times out of 10, like, we got, you know, she's going to shoot to that, you know, to the way she's leaning, which is to your off stick. So that's where she ends up shooting. And I mean, it's a close shot. Like, what are you going to do about that one? It's tough. So hang on. Yeah, here we go. Last one for another free position shot.
The foul actually benefits the defense.
Lubecker shoots, a nice save by Doucette. So to your point, Rachel, a potential goal not counted.
Nice save. Nice save. So yeah, another free position shot. And it looks like kind of you go to like right before it starts, it looks like you kind of adjust your helmet a little bit. Do you remember what was going on there?
Honestly, sometimes my helmet will ride up a little bit. I don't go for as much tilt as most do. So it sometimes pops up and gets a little in my way. So I'll adjust it. I'll get back to where I need to quickly. Kind of a little on this one with Lubecker coming off the hash, but we got there.
Yep. I love that stance. I mean, you mentioned like being coiled, and you can just kind of see it from this angle right here, you know, legs bent, just ready to explode up, ready to explode down. Great stance. Good learning for those young goalies out there. And then shot comes and bam, you just get kind of a leg on it. I mean, you know, ideally we're making the save with our stick, but at that point, like she's so close and it comes to your off stick hip that I think you're just doing whatever you can to make that save, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I'll put anything in front of it when I can.
Yep. Awesome. And then that leads us to the very end here.
2021 Women's Big Ten Tournament champions. They do it in style. They've won.
You guys win the Big Ten championship really for, I think he said for the second time in the program's history. So congratulations on that. That must have been an amazing feeling.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing like those post-win huddles, especially in this past year with COVID. And like, we just had to throw ourselves so heavily into our team and ourselves and not seeing anyone else and just being there. It's a very validating feeling to know that all those sacrifices you made, not seeing friends, not seeing family, not traveling, just buttoning down, it definitely felt extra sweet this year.
Awesome. Well, congratulations, Madison. That was great. And thank you for taking us through those saves. It's awesome to hear kind of the goalie's perspective on some of those plays that we see. So, well, that was tons of fun. Thank you so much for opening up, sharing your story, your experience, you know, how you've gotten to where you're at. I know there's, you know, probably a lot of young goalies, both on the men and women's side out there who will listen to this and be very inspired. So thank you. Thank you very much, Madison.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah. Two more quick questions. Your stick setup, what do you go with?
Got a Gate men's attack shaft, STX Eclipse 2 on the head, Hero mesh, string it up myself, very particular pattern, tape it as I see fit. Nothing
Awesome.
crazy, gets the job done.
Awesome. Love it. And then finally, if you're going to leave the goalies out there with one last piece of advice, what would that be?
I want to say just be confident, but that's easier said than done. So I'd say play your game, learn what you're good at, build those things, but also close the gap between your other skills and let your style speak for itself. You're not going to play the same as anyone else. Everyone's going to be slightly different. No one's built the same. No one's going to stand the same. No one's going to step the same, but lean into that, figure out what you like to do, and then build your physicality, your gamesmanship, IQ, and mental toughness around that, and you'll be good to go.
Very well said. Madison, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Cool. I'll let you know when this comes out. That was great. Thank you so much.
Awesome. No, I appreciate it. It's fun. I love talking shop for an hour.
Yeah, I know, right? Definitely going to be the best hour of my day.
I agree. I gotta go to swing. That's gonna be fun.
There you go. Do you have like 2 more minutes? Can I ask you another question?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. So, you know, with this NIL thing, the name, image, likeness, I'm going to sponsor some goalies. Would you be interested?
Absolutely. That sounds amazing.
So I have a little pitch. Can I explain to you like what I'm thinking?
Do what you got.
Okay. Give me a second. I got slides and everything. This shit is professional. Yeah. So I am,
violation. So this shit is not professional over here.
Say again?
I said I would say this shit is professional for myself as well, but that would be an NCAA violation. So I won't say that.
There you go. There you go. Hang on just 1 second. Sponsorship. Sponsor goalie. So very much a work in progress. I'm, chatting with 5 other goalies, kind of like yourself. It's amazing timing because all the college goalies are free right now for summer, so I've been doing all the podcasts with them. And then this rule passed and I'm like, I got to sponsor some athletes. And I had no idea what that meant. Right. I just knew I wanted to do it. And I kind of figured a way, this is what I think it could be, but like I said, it's a work in progress. So my idea is, I sponsor the athletes, and then together, like, we create this training package, like an online training package that I'm going to sell to my audience. So I built up a pretty loyal, pretty good audience of goalies, goalie moms, other lacrosse coaches. So we would put together this training package, and I would sell it to my audience. And here's what I'm thinking goes in the training package. It would be like a webinar, like a virtual coaching webinar. And, with each goalie, I would work with them to, I have a list of topics. So I'd work with you on the topic, and you could look at the list and pick one, like, oh, I could present on that topic with minimal prep. But it's a virtual coaching webinar. It is a instructional video series. So, just you in, maybe in front of a goal, iPhone, tripod, nothing too intense. But just, again, we'll pick a topic. It'll be more like an instructional video series. First one's live, like we would do it live. They would attend. This one would be pre-recorded, and we'd give them access to that. Third one is save breakdown. So very similar to what we just did on the podcast, right? We'd pick a couple games from the upcoming season, and just, talk through some plays. What are you seeing? What are you thinking? What drills have helped you in that scenario, that type of stuff. I thought it might be kind of cool to have the audience or whoever buys it, vote on which games, just to get some participation. And then finally, the last thing in there is just a Q&A webinar. So at some point during the season, anybody who's bought this training package could attend, and no prep needed on that. It would just be Q&A. So that's kind of like the package. Right. And I'm, like I said, I'm offering it to a bunch of different goalies. Some I'm trying to figure out, who's in, who's out. So, but this is who I've offered it to so far. And then put yourself on there as well. So a bunch of, top ranked goalies. I
would say both female goalies who I've played with heavily. So. Yeah.
I don't think Rachel's going to be in. She's just too busy, but Sarah, I think, is in. So we'll see. And then, so the second piece, so that's creating the package, right? So I would, need your help with that, and we'd work together, right? It's not like I'd just say, go do it, but I'd be there to help you. And then the marketing piece. So, in terms of helping me out marketing it, it'd be some sponsored Instagram posts. So kind of announcing our agreement, or whatever you want to call it, our sponsorship. And then when that training package is available, some posts around, hey, here's my training package. Here's, help to market it. So that would be the Instagram posts, story shares. I got this one from the Barstool athletes. Have you seen those Barstool athletes where they put in the bio? So you'd put @Lax Goalie Rat Athlete in the bio. And then LGR on the throat guard tape. So no, not a logo, but just the letters LGR. And then people, might ask about that. And then that'd be a great opportunity to kind of pitch what we're doing together and talk about that training package. So that's the marketing piece. And then in terms of what I'm offering, I'll go 50-50 on the profits. So the nice thing about digital products is it's pretty much all profit. Maybe we throw some money at a video editor, or I don't know, some ads or something like that, but it's pretty much all profit. So I'd go 50-50 on the profits. And then one thing we need to decide is, with all the goalies that end up accepting, I could go 50-50 with you, on your package, or we could pool all of the profits and then split it that way. So for example, if we had 3 goalies, we end up with the 10K profit, half to me, half to the goalies. You guys would get $16.66 per goalie. And I do want to set a floor. I'm so confident this is going to work, but just in the event that it doesn't, I want to make sure you guys are covered. So there's a floor of 500. So at a minimum, I'd give you 500, but there is no max. Max is whatever we end up with on sales. A few other terms that I wanted to throw in here. So I want you to still be able to do other sponsorships. So if STX says, hey, we want you to use our gear, we'll pay, whatever. But The online lacrosse goalie training would be the one that I would say like it would be exclusive, just so we don't water down the product that we're building together. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Would that include like in-person training as well? Like say Goalie Smith wanted me to do something. Is that like?
It would not, like that's okay. Coaching live camps. Okay. That's totally different, right? Cause that's not online, right? That's a live camp there. It's, so that's totally different. Totally okay. And then I put here, like, that's kind of the general rule. Just if there's a case by case basis, if there's any doubt, just ask, we'll talk it through. So payment, I would give you $500 on signature, and then, and I could do that Venmo, PayPal. And then, I do offer all my buyers a 30-day money back guarantee, which just kind of helps them like eliminate any doubt about buying. You get very little returns, but I would need to wait 30 days for those profits to clear. But after they do, then that's when the 50-50 profit split, once it goes above 500, right?
Okay. So the 500 is kind of that baseline. Once the profits then build past 500, that would be an additional pay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And then if for some reason you need to back out, or, you say, hey, like I just don't have time to do it, or you get hurt and you need to focus on other things, totally understandable. No harm, no foul. Return the 500 and we're all good. So that's it. We create the training package. You help me with the marketing, 50-50 profit split, minimum 500. Thoughts?
Yeah. So what kind of like timing weekly, like what time demands do you expect to fall on it?
Yeah, great question. So if you go back to kind of what you're creating, because really all of the marketing, no time demands. Like I'm going to give you the posts.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you the stories. You're going to put that thing. So no time demands on the marketing. So it's really a question of this right here, the training package. 60-minute webinar, I would probably anticipate like a good 2, 3, maybe 4 hours of prep, kind of putting together your slides. Ideally, it's a topic that you can talk pretty passionately about without much prep. So let's call that one 5 hours.
Okay.
Instructional video series, I bet you can knock that out in like a half day, right? I don't know. I'm kind of guessing on that one, but I would, once you have the idea in your head of what I'm going to do in this video series, probably knock that one out in half day. So again, say breakdowns, like, I would just probably send you the tape we're going to watch beforehand, so you're a little bit prepped. And then each one of those is half hour, 45 minutes. And then the Q&A webinar, no prep needed. It's all Q&A, 60 minutes.
And then the frequency of these things, like, is that a one and done video like series, or is that like a recurring thing? Like kind of roll over? How often does that occur?
Yeah. So this would be one training package per season.
Okay.
And you would get profits throughout the season, right? So yeah, it's not a recurring thing unless like next year we want to do it again. But yeah, it's a one and done type of thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right. Cool. Other questions?
No, that's all I can think of. I'll definitely kind of think about it a little bit. I mean, I think it's super cool. I don't really see any qualms with it or have any qualms with it right now.
Okay. I'll send you the slides so you can review it with, whoever you need to review it with.
And then will it be like kind of signed contract, whatever? Do you have anything drafted up in that regard?
I do. I have a contract. It's pretty much exactly what I just showed you. There's two other terms in the contract, which is like I would be the owner of the content that we create.
Understandable. Yep. As expected.
Yeah. And then hang on, let me just open it up real quick. There was one other sponsorship. I'll send you this actual contract too, so you have that. The agreement. Oh, the only other one was confidentiality. So I put a term in here that said we will keep all terms of this agreement, especially financial arrangements, confidential.
Okay.
Cool.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And then everything else is literally the exact same as I just showed you. So it should be pretty clear.
Yeah.
And it's not like I am not a legalese person. Like it's written in plain English. So if you don't, you should understand everything.
So much more preferred.
I know, right?
Legal jargon.
Yeah.
I got a friend in law school. Maybe I'll just be like, hey.
I know. I downloaded a template to like use, and it was like, it had the word heretofore in there. I don't use heretofore. Never once used the word heretofore in my.
No one has that in their vernacular.
Their spoken vernacular. Yeah. All right, Madison, I'll let you get back to it. I'll send you that. Timing wise, do you think you could let me know like by Friday? Is that?
Friday sounds fantastic.
Yeah. Okay.
Good.
Awesome.
Right.
Well then, let me know by Friday, and then after that, I'll do like a kickoff call with all the goalies who are in, and we'll just kind of introduce and get to know one another and talk about like a game plan.
Sounds like a plan.
Cool. Have a great day.
All right, you as well. Nice talking to you.